Well, then, selfishly, I want to ask, like, where have you observed tension in our relationship? So we work together so closely. I think I probably talk to you more than I talk to anyone else at the company. And while we have a great relationship, we still have tension.
We do. I brought this up on a podcast like last week, and I think it's like worth bringing up here. It's funny is like the biggest tension point we have is around company comms, and departures
I'm
is
laughing.
departures is definitely always the thing. And and part of this might be my optimism, but like I really like believe in like the best things are, and I'm a former like context. I think a little bit about this. It was just kind of like, I don't think I've ever told you or said out loud, but like when I was a former teacher, and when I was teaching, my like mentors like, look, the very best teachers, you don't believe that this lesson plan is structured. And you're like, dude, this was the coolest day of class ever. We did this thing and this thing and this thing. And you like, as a student, feel like you had this like freedom, and like, it just like happened. And it was like so orchestrated so beautifully that it felt like seamless. And
Mm,
that's a really hard thing to do with curriculum. It's even harder to do with people in a company. But like, that's my perspective around communication, is like, it it should feel very natural and authentic and organic, and it also should be like very controlled and orchestrated, because like this is a living species that, if like not controlled, can become out of control of like a
yes.
business. And it's funny with that's like my perspective, and I like very deeply believe I'm like also skilled at that. And then when you and I have tensions, is you with departures, is you tend to be very like default to transparency with the team of like, this is like,
Yep.
hey, this is what happened, this is what it is. And it's our value. Default to transparency is like one of our values, and I like am on board with that. But like when it clashes and we have tensions is when I feel like it goes against a narrative control that I want. And
Mm,
I think that is kind of an indicator, I think, of the perspective of our days, of like, you think about, how does our team feel with this happens? And I tend to think of like, what will our team think? And like, those are just different. And like, they
yeah.
both matter like a lot. But that's like, we've had some pretty heated back and forth. And I think the reality is like, there's really like a middle ground there, where I realize sometimes, and we've like got this feedback from staff when we went with my way, is like, hey, what the hell? I didn't know this thing. And then, we've had conversations around suggestions
Hmm.
you've had, like, hey, that's going to probably like ruffle too many feathers. It's like too far that way. And like, you kind of have to butt heads in a way to like create that. And I think like the middle is the right way, with our relationship. But yeah, it doesn't just happen at like, boo boo, let's do it. It's normally a couple like
We go
stubborn,
back and forth.
stubborn opinions going at it.
I would say we both have strong opinions.
Yeah.
And that, I think, like, I love conflict, Adam. Like, we've talked about it.
What?
Like, I was like,
What?
you, I love conflict. Like,
What?
I want to debate this shit. And I want us to like, and the thing is, like, sometimes I am very stubborn. I've acknowledged that about myself quite a bit. And I need to learn to just like let go and try it a different way, which I have worked on, I feel like, quite a bit in the last year. But I like the tension, because I think it gets us to better solutions in the end. And like the more I have conflict with you, it actually helps me, because then I can better anticipate what you are going to want in the future. And I know that like sounds counterproductive. Like usually we both want the same things. We just have different approaches of getting there. And so like the more I can not argue with you, because I don't think that sounds very healthy, but the more I can really get a chance to like see how you think and how you approach things, then the better I get at like actually predicting how the work needs to be done so that you are bought in and aligned.
Well, I think that's why like the consistent communication matters, because like, my whys a lot. And I think like where this relationship like sours and everything is ruined, and I've seen this in past companies, is when it's like, this is what we're doing, do it. And there's no there's no why, there's no purpose, and of course there's no like collaboration, and like that's like the death of the relationship, I think, between the two roles. But like the and I think there's also, this is like this is for you, I don't know if everyone thinks this way, but you'll probably have a bunch of people shaking their head yes, but like you always bring up like, hey, legally we should watch this, and like we should pay attention to this thing, and like we can't, and I'm like,
Laws are important.
I don't give a fuck about that. And I'm like, if we get caught by the government as a 25 person company, like, okay. And I think us. Like it's really fair, but like I think when we had like tension at first around that, I was like, I don't understand why she's bringing this up. Like, we are a year-old startup. There's like no, and then like your responsibility from your perspective is like, I am doing like risk management of our people and our team, and like making sure that we're doing the right things that set us up for the long term. And I have like, I'm making sure we don't run out of cash. And like that, like we came to wise, and like sometimes like, hey, this is better to do now versus like, sorry, we're just going to fly under the radar for a little while for that one. And like, or like eventually. Knowing the why between that versus if I'm like, no, we're not doing that. And it's like, what the fuck? Well, what? And it's like, instead of I'm like, hey, we have very limited resources right now. I fundamentally don't think that puts us in like a death risk scenario for the next 12 months. Do you agree? And it's like, yeah, actually it's fine for like a year. It's like, cool, table it.
Move on. Yeah.